Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier. The streetcar is a year and a half away, so can you still get in on development opportunities on the route? And if so, what would you build? A new law firm with a specific focus is now open for business in Mount Lookout. And get a look inside the Westin Cincinnati as it undergoes a multi-million-dollar makeover. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rasconi. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, as construction of the streetcar continues, developers continue to gobble up property along the tracks. In this week's centerpiece, what would you build here? One of the biggest measures of success for the streetcar will be the economic development it spurs and the potential for rising property values along the 3.6-mile loop. Here's a map of the line. It runs up Main to 12th Street, up Elm, crossing at Henry to Ray Street, turning onto Central Parkway and down to Walnut before connecting back to Main Street. As construction on the streetcar line continues, the Business Courier looks at some of the spots that have the biggest potential for change. The Model Group is working on a $14 million redevelopment project that will reshape almost an entire block of Ray Street near Findlay Market. Village Green plans to add hundreds of apartments 2 blocks from a stop on Vine Street, and General Electric told government officials the streetcar was one of the reasons it selected the banks for its global operations center. And the potential doesn't exist just along adjacent properties. Some of the key spots being watched include Dixie Terminal at Vine and 3rd Streets, Tri-State Building on Walnut, Central Parkway parking lot at Central Parkway and Walnut, and several parcels around Findlay Market. Business Courier reporter Chris Wetterick is following the streetcar progress and development story and joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio. Chris and Kelly.
Thanks, Peg.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great story. So are these local investors, all of the development?
Yeah, generally they are. There aren't a lot of out-of-town investors that have come on the scene yet. There's probably out-of-town money that will come in on some of these, but generally, you have the Model Group, you have 3CDC, which is the biggest player in over the Rhine. Urban sites, there are generally local people that we're talking about here.
So the Findlay Market property is really fascinating. Right. There's 2 different areas there. Talk a little bit about those.
The one we focused on in a web story on Friday was if you drive down Liberty, there's kind of some farmland that you can see, a very small amount where they grow crops that are sold at Findlay Market. Yeah. There's also a school on that block, but generally it's a vacant parcel of land. It's about 1.5 acres, and the people that own it bought it last year about sometime during the summer, and they hope to develop it either into an office, a majority office user with some residential component, or another residential structure that we've seen generally in over the Rhine from 3CDC. They really see a lot of potential there because it's not only near the streetcar line, but it's also near the Central Parkway bikeway. So you have 2 major alternative transportation nodes that are sitting near that building, or that site.
That site. Will some of the farmland be retained?
I'm not sure. Yeah. In their plans, they don't really retain much of it. Yeah. So I think their view is that it's more valuable with something on it. And, I think that's generally, if you buy land in over the Rhine or if you buy buildings, which is generally the case. This property is actually unique because it doesn't have many buildings on it. You can build from scratch, which is cheaper generally than the rehab work that has to be done in over the Rhine.
So to the question posed by the Business Courier on the front page, what would you build here? Right. What are the primary things that you're hearing? You mentioned office space.
Right. You're going to generally see a mixture of office space, commercial space, and residential. The people that own the Findlay Market Farms for farm property, for example, they would hope to get a corporate headquarters of some sort there. There's a lot of people that want to work in over the Rhine in addition to just hanging out there and going to bars and restaurants and shopping there. Yeah. So I think we're going to see more office space come there as time goes on.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. It could be totally transformative. Yeah. Interesting to see. Well,
Definitely.
Thanks for being here this morning, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Peg, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Kelly and Chris. That is a great read in the print edition. Well, new development and transportation changes may be in store for Kentucky as well. Over the next year, transportation planners will try to figure out the best way to improve a 6.5-mile portion of Kentucky State Route 536 from the Licking River through Kenton County to Madison Pike. Planners want more input from the public before decisions are made, but the changes could lead to the 2-lane country road being changed to a 4-lane road. That would open up development opportunities and better connect the southern portions of Campbell, Kenton, and Boone counties. For more information on providing feedback, you can visit www.oki.org/536. Well, family and rare bourbon apparently do not mix. That's the lesson from the family that owns the Cork and Bottle, the Northern Kentucky business known for stocking top-shelf liquor for 50 years. They're mired in a federal court battle over hundreds of thousands of dollars in rare bourbon. In dispute are at least 128 bottles with a total value of at least $234,000, including 105 bottles of Van Winkle Family Reserve bourbon. The Bank of Kentucky filed a foreclosure complaint in October to place Cork's flagship store in Covington and another in Crescent Springs in receivership over $1.7 million in past due loans. One of Cincinnati's oldest money management firms has a new name. Legg Mason Investments Counsel is now known as 1919 Investment Counsel. The change came about last year as a result of an ownership change. The new name marks the year the original firm, then known as Scudder, Stevens & Clark, opened in Boston. In 1927, the investment advisor opened an office in downtown Cincinnati, where it's been ever since. One of Greater Cincinnati's biggest private companies has completed a $75 million line of credit with U.S. Bank. Relodyne is a Blue Ash-based lubricant and fuel distributor formed in 2010 from the acquisition of 4 family-owned businesses. Its fuel business is mainly for commercial use, serving trucking firms, construction companies, and farms. The company's earnings have more than tripled since it was formed, and the CEO says the credit line will help continue that expansion.
We started out about 4 years ago as a much smaller company, and as you likely know, companies that grow need capital. So we're using the money for both working capital financing as well as our opportunity to finance some of our acquisitions.
Relodyne has done about a dozen acquisitions in the past 4 years, and Stoddard says they hope to announce several more in the next few weeks. The president of Mercy Health's Behavioral Health Institute has been appointed president of Catholic Charities USA. Sister Donna Markham will lead Catholic Charities, one of the largest social service organizations in the nation, with nearly $4.5 billion in total income reported for fiscal year 2013. The agencies include Cincinnati-based Catholic Charities of Southwestern Ohio and Catholic Charities of Covington. Markham will become the first woman to lead the church-run organization in its 105-year history. 2 Cincinnati attorneys are leaving larger downtown practices to start their own boutique business law firm. Brian Giles and Bryce Lennox opened the business litigation law firm of Giles Lennox, drawing on the pair's more than 30 years of combined litigation experience. And they're pretty clear on that focus.
You've seen a proliferation in big service law firms that offer services in every imaginable category. And we're not a full-service firm. Again, we only do one thing. We do business disputes, and we resolve claims and bring claims in courts. And that's how we differ from the traditional law firm model.
The new law firm is located in Mount Lookout Square. Well, the 5th largest hotel measured by number of rooms is giving those rooms a makeover. In fact, the Westin Cincinnati is getting a complete multi-million-dollar makeover. Every room will be taken back to the studs for this remodel.
So all 456 of our guest rooms will be brand new and beautiful.
Kathleen Gilby is the new general manager of the Westin. She's working collaboratively with others in downtown to bring more attention to Cincinnati.
We're working very hard with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and other Cincinnati hotels to really get out to other cities and tell our story to really bring more business into Cincinnati.
With a number of new hotels opening in Cincinnati since the Westin's last remodel in 2009, Gilby said it was time for an upgrade. Well, up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, this luxury car is getting a lot of attention on the Business Courier website. We will tell you why. And some changes ahead for the Montgomery Inn. Some news now that's getting a lot of attention on the Business Courier website and social media sites. Macy's is closing 14 retail stores as the company invests more in technology. None of the stores are in Greater Cincinnati, but 3 are in Ohio. They are expected to close by early spring. A lot of people want to see inside a Tesla. A new local company called Driver Green Transportation is using the luxury electric car to go head-to-head with on-demand driving services like Uber and Lyft. The owners say they crunch the numbers and can operate Teslas at a significantly reduced rate than gasoline cars. Just go online and request a car to see for yourself. One of Cincinnati's busiest and most loved food trucks is opening a brick-and-mortar restaurant on the east side. Urban Grill, which specializes in savory sandwiches and receives consistent high ratings on Facebook, Yelp, and Foursquare, is opening a restaurant in the refurbished barn in Newtown. The restaurant hasn't settled on an official name yet, but owners hope to have it open by the 1st of June. The mystery continues around the whereabouts of the founder of JS Gold & Coin. John Saylor was supposed to be in court last week but never showed. What seemed like a great American success story for Saylor, who founded JS Gold & Coin in 2008, began to unravel about 2 years ago when the gold boom ended. Now, as the Courier has reported, he remains missing. Some changes for a Cincinnati family restaurant dynasty. The Gregory family, which owns Montgomery Inn, is looking to sell its real estate holdings in the city of Montgomery, but maintain operation of its business and original restaurant through a long-term lease. The properties listed for sale at nearly $11 million include the iconic downtown Montgomery restaurant, office headquarters, and a commissary building. Well, in this morning's Economic 360, sometimes the market is up, sometimes the market is down, but one thing that is certain is the market is always moving. U.S. Bank Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager Mike Denneman joins Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith in the studio to talk about the recent volatility in the market and what it means for stocks. Jamie and Mike.
Thanks, Peg. Thanks for being here today, Mike.
Good morning.
So it's been a wild ride on the market lately.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So, we finished last year on a high note, another good year for the market, and so far this year has been something of a mixed bag. But regardless of the direction, the sense seems to be that the volatility has increased. And so just to take a step back, when we say volatility, what we mean is the movement of the market in any given period of time. So the difference between those highs and those lows. So certainly the sense is that the volatility has increased, that we're not on this smooth trend, but rather there's a lot of uneven choppiness out there. So if the casual observer perceives that there's a lot more of this volatility, the question is, does that perception match the reality? And if it does, what does that mean for the market?
Yeah. So you're saying perception, you're saying reality. How do we really tell if the volatility is as high as they're saying it is?
Sure. So, first of all, there's kind of what we call the eyeball test. I mean, look at just the fourth quarter, for an example. We lost 10% in October, almost right off the bat, but then gained all of that back and then some in just a few short weeks. So those are some pretty wide moves in just a short period of time. And then even on a day-to-day basis, we're seeing this. This past Tuesday was a great example. The Dow started up in the morning about 300 points. By early afternoon, it was down 200 points, and then it finished about even. So even within a single day, we're seeing some very wide swings. We've hardly had a day this year that hasn't had a 100-point move one way or the other. So to answer your specific question, believe it or not, there's an index out there. It's called the VIX, V-I-X, that puts a numerical value to the market volatility. Right now, that measure is at 23, which, to be clear, isn't even close to an all-time high.
Okay.
But when you put that in context of where it was, say, just 6 months ago, in July it was at 10, today it's at 23. So in just a 6-month period, that's indicating that it's almost doubled. So yeah, the perception is reality. Certainly by statistical measurements, the volatility has increased.
Okay. So what does that mean, to the market? I mean, what's this mean to us?
Right. Well, unfortunately, it's not possible to discern right now what this means for the future direction of the market, but what it does tell us is that there is an awful lot of uneasiness out there right now, a lot of concerns and worries about the market. Things we've talked about on this program a number of times, be it the Fed and interest rates, whether it's the price of oil or what's going on overseas. There's not this sense that, hey, we're in this trend, upward or downward, but on a day-to-day basis, the different news items are driving the market one way or the other. So until we get some sense that a lot of these questions are cleared up, I think we can expect to continue to see these wide swings.
Okay, so I should keep working and spending and throwing everything into the market I can, huh?
Buy low and sell high.
All right, well, thanks for being here today. We always look forward to you being in here and talking about the economy, so thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jamie. The market's always moving, and Mike can always explain it. Well, still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, a big week of honors for downtown Cincinnati. We'll talk about all the places that are putting Cincinnati at the top of several lists. And congratulations to Megan Cummings, Development Officer of the Women's Fund of the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, another of our 40 under 40 honorees. In this morning's Business Insight, a travel blog has named Cincinnati one of the top 10 places in the world to visit in 2015. That's right, top 10 in the world, Cincinnati. The blog, called Jet Setter, credits the Aronoff Center for the Arts with kickstarting the city's growth into the arts and entertainment hub when it opened in 1995. It suggests celebrating the venue's 20th birthday with a trip to the Backstage District's attractions, including the Contemporary Arts Center, Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, and 21C Museum Hotel. The list also credits Nada, Soto, Boca, Igby's, and the Righteous Room for contributing to the area's allure. In addition, Business Insider last week named the 21C Museum Hotel in Cincinnati the best hotel in Ohio. So not a bad week. Joining us this morning to talk about what this kind of publicity means for the city and what's being done to keep the momentum going is Tricia Suit, Director of Marketing for Downtown Cincinnati, Inc. She's with Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith. Tricia and Jamie.
Thanks, Peg. Trish, thanks for being here today.
Happy to be here.
So obviously a lot of good things going on. What's the feeling like in your office right now?
We're all pretty excited about it. I mean, it's great news, and it's certainly a testament to the hard work and the business and construction development that's been going on the last 20 years with the Aronoff Center, but certainly in the last decade, just the tremendous amount of work that's been happening downtown.
What's the way that you guys get the feedback? You know, whether it's visitors to downtown from, you know, our own city or whether it's tourists that are coming into the city. How do you guys get feedback?
One way is our ambassadors, who are the men and women who are out there every day. You know, they're cleaning up the streets, but they're also doing hospitality assists. So they give us really just general feedback about, oh, we had somebody in from such and such, and we helped them find a place to get their nails done, or we told them a great place to eat because they were with their kids and weren't sure, you know, of a family-friendly place. So that's one way, is we just hear from our ambassadors. But obviously social media is a great way. So when we see a blog post like Jet Setter, and then we see the response that it gets on Twitter and Facebook, and how people comment on it and agree with them and talk about their own experiences with downtown. That's another way we get sort of that real-time feedback.
Excellent. And I know as a you know, the head of a business downtown, you guys survey us at least once a year on kind of what our thoughts are, how often we come down besides work.
Right. We do a perception survey every year, and that's obviously the numbers have changed, and the positive impressions of downtown have gone up every year. We've been doing it for I think 10 years now, so we've really seen that grow too.
That's great. Now Jet Setter predominantly talked about downtown and the arts area, the backstage area. Were you surprised that there was not any mention of the banks and Over the Rhine? Because those two areas seem to be getting all the talk
because Over the Rhine has been getting such great press from National Geographic Traveler, Food and Wine. But I think really focusing on the Central Business District, because again, I think the Aronoff Center certainly jump-started a lot of that growth around there. And some of our best restaurants are right there in the urban core with Soto and Boca. So
you almost take it for granted. You know, we're so used to the Aronoff being there, and you know, with all the changes to the old 580 building, you know, you almost forget that that's there because so much attention is given to the banks.
Well, and with 21C, I think they just had their second anniversary. That's completely changed, I think, how people experience that part of downtown. And with the restaurants along there and the Aronoff Center and the Contemporary Arts Center, it's really this great little arts hub with bars and restaurants around it with so much for everyone to do.
Now with the All-Star Game coming this year, what does that mean for DCI?
It means a lot of work. Got meetings coming up, and we're working with a lot of the different committees. So whether it's the Arts and Culture Group, transportation, restaurants, we're trying to work with all the different committees that they have so we can make sure that when people come to visit downtown, because everything will be centered around downtown, they have a one-of-a-kind experience and really put the sort of Cincinnati spin on an event like that, because we do events really well.
Yeah. Well, you know, to some people, you think about the All-Star Game, it's a 3-hour game, whatever it is, but that's not what it is.
No,
I mean, it's a week.
It's a week
right?
now, and there are special events every night of that, and they range, and the Fan Fest goes on for that whole week too.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to do. And for people who aren't going to the game, their experience of the All-Star Game will be what's happening that week. So we want to make sure that when they're downtown for Fan Fest or the Home Run Derby, they're seeing the best downtown has to offer.
Well, besides the All-Star Game, is there anything else in 2015 that you guys are fired up about?
That's really the big thing for us because we're all sort of focusing on that. But you know, the development at the banks and working with bringing, you know, the GE folks coming in next year, we're working with them as they bring people in and work with that to make that experience great for them too.
Okay, good. Now, is there any other organizations that you guys work with very closely?
We work with, I mean, you know, 3CDC, Regional Tourism Network, Convention and Visitors Bureau. We work with all of them because we're all trying to do the same thing.
Right,
we're
exactly.
trying to
It's all
create
about
really,
Cincinnati.
make downtown and Cincinnati the greatest place it can be. And when people do visit, that they have, they come away with a great experience.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. We look forward to having you back on the show, maybe around the All-Star Game.
All right.
All right, Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jamie and Tricia. The Cincinnati story just gets better and better. And thank you this morning for joining us on U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning at 6:30 here on Local 12 and 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, you can visit the Business Courier online and sign up for daily emails and follow on Twitter and Facebook. The address is CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. I'm Peg Rasconi. Have a great Sunday.